Hey gang, Penguin here. We're going to be talking about part 5 in my stroke story. I hope that you guys find this enlightening and hopeful and answers questions. If you have any other questions, subscribe and like and ask them in the comment section. I will not go without answering any question anybody has because a stroke is a scary thing, guys, and you need as much information as you can get. So stay tuned for my stroke story part 5. We'll see you soon. Hey everybody, welcome back to part 5. I'm home, now what? Continuing my stroke story. Again, not sure how many parts this will be, but as long as I got stuff to talk about, I'm going to keep on going. I will start, I'm not sure of the night yet, but I will start a weekly program, possibly bi-weekly, that talks about individual issues or things about a stroke in general. You know, what is a stroke? How can I prevent it? Blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of different things to talk about, and each one is going to be a big subject. So some of them may be in 2 parts because I really don't want to go beyond 20 minutes or so for each one. So stay tuned for that. I will let you know when that's going to happen. So I'm home. This is actually a picture from when I came home on my own. So now what? Well, one of the first things that you have to do is you have to get to adjust to actually having furniture around you. And I say that while you've lived in your house possibly a long time, you now spent weeks in a rehab facility that is very wide open. Your room had a bed, possibly a dresser, TV hanging up. There wasn't much to trip on or to have to maneuver around because it's pretty much straightforward there. When you get home, you have tables, you have couches, chairs, whatever. And while you may have been there a long time, these things are now going to be new to you because your body's not used to them. The good thing is, if you happen to stumble or take a fall or something, having the furniture around you, as far as the couches, recliner seats, and that part's the good part. The bad part is the table, chairs, and things like that that can possibly trip you up because sometimes you lose awareness of where your limbs are as far as your leg. You have to excuse me, I'm just kind of got a cold or something going on here. But your leg sometimes doesn't know where it is. Even though you're able to walk on it, it just sometimes doesn't quite know where it is at all given times. And that's fine, your brain is still learning. That's part of it. So you may want to consider doing one of a few things. If you can sleep in your bed, do so. I mean, by all means. However, I found it kind of difficult because I just spent the better part of a month sleeping on an inclined bed in the hospital and then in rehab. And my body got used to that. So for the first couple of weeks at home, and I kind of started to wean myself, like when it was nap time, I'd lay in bed, but actually slept in a recliner. So I could still have that upright position. And, you know, since you move slower, if you have to go to the restroom or something in the middle of the night, you're in a better position to get up than you are actually in a bed. So take that into consideration as well. You know, the only downside of that is if you do sleep in a recliner, make sure you have another chair to go to during the day so that your body gets conditioned to actually moving. You're not in the same chair all day than all night. If you remember in rehab, you were in and out, in and out, in and out, up for different classes, da, da, da. So make sure that you at least change your chairs at home and sit in one chair during the day, sleep in one chair during the night. If you indeed sleep in a chair, you may want to do that. So now I'm home. Obviously, there's not a whole lot you're going to be able to do for yourself. Living on your own, you're going to need home health care a good bit, and you're really going to have to rely on family because you're really not going to be able to cook safely. You're not going to be able to drive safely. So you may want to consider having somebody come in and helping you do these things. And while you may have learned how to bathe yourself and things like that, sometimes it's best to have help with things like your back and that. I mean, you just can't do some things unless you gain full function of your extremity that was affected. I didn't. I needed the help. Fortunately, my wife and my son, who was 15 at the time, was there, and they helped me any way that you can imagine. But they made sure not to do everything for me. You have to learn to do things. It's kind of a catch-22, but you have to do as much as you can safely. I can't stress that enough. You do whatever you can safely, and you let your family help you, or your friends, or whoever help you with the rest. So, got a hair hanging from my microphone here. Okay. Next is I want to tell you about the joke of home health care that I had. My insurance paid for 3 visits. That's 3 visits of PT and 3 visits of OT. Now, what happens? These people come out to your house the first visit. They don't know you from Adam. They really don't know your history. They know that you had a stroke on this day and you were discharged this day. That's about it. So really, the first visit is assessment. They're seeing where are you and what they can do to better you. Okay? So the second visit, they come with a game plan. And they work and work, do whatever, da da da. The third visit is your discharge. So out of those 3 visits, you got 1 visit where you actually did activity with a therapist. That was a joke. So I did my physical therapy first, and after the second visit, he told me that next week it's going to be just a discharge, so there really won't be any workout or anything. I went ahead and called the occupational therapist and don't even bother. What's the point? They're not going to do anything in one day that I can't do on myself or that I didn't do in rehab. So that means I had to go back to the packets, if you remember, that were made for me from my therapist in rehab. All their exercises and all their training and everything like that. And I went through those and I did everything that I could every day to work on this. And I think that's really the determination on my own to do it. I think is really what helped me for the most part. Therapy, don't get me wrong, they can help, but 1 visit of therapy doesn't do anything. It just doesn't do anything. I mean, he didn't even show me things to do in the future. He said, well, that's it for the day. I'll see you next week. What's wrong with this picture? This is something I think needs to be brought up to healthcare in general, to the insurance companies. They're paying for 3 visits and God knows how many hundreds of dollars a visit when you actually only got 1 visit. 1 was to tell you a story, 3 was them to say, see ya. So, that's something that you have to. But Jason and Jillian made some awesome package for me in rehab. And that, I think, is what I attribute to, getting to where I am now, which is, again, not 100%. I'm probably 60%, if I had to throw a number on it. Leg more, so leg's probably 80, arm, hands probably 40. So, we're getting there, but it's still going to take time. And I still have to do these exercises. At least now I'm to the point where I can actually use a weight on my left arm and do some things like that, which is helping the progress as well, too. So for me, doing it myself, I believe worked better than those people that came out because they were definitely not as, how should I say, learned as the people in rehab were. They just weren't as good. So again, I'm going to stress this. You have to work hard and you have to work. You will not get better if you don't work at it, ladies and gentlemen. You just won't. There's no 2 ways about it. It's like having surgery on your arm and your doctor says, okay, you got to do these exercises or you won't get use back. Guess what? If you don't do the exercise, it's going to kind of lock up and freeze up. And you don't want that to happen. So work at it and don't give up. Don't think that because you're not better in a couple weeks or you don't see any improvement in a couple weeks. I went months and months without seeing any improvement. And then all of a sudden I could do this. A couple months later, 6 months later, hey, I can do this. And my accomplishments always seem to fall on holidays. I can remember being able to go like this up my wife's arm on her birthday. So, I mean, just little things like that. And they're milestones. They're definitely milestones. But remember, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, every year after that. Okay, so don't think it's all going to happen 3 months, 6 months, or a year. Your healing, I'm almost 2 years out, and your healing is still ongoing. I can still see improvement. Okay? And one of my biggest things I wanted to do is prior to this, I did DJing karaoke. Okay, so I was an active person. I would come home from work, get ready for a gig. I mean, I did this many nights a week. So on my patios where I had everything set up as far as my equipment, I wanted to get back out there as soon as I could because music is my livelihood. I had my iPad in the hospital in rehab and I had music going when I would take my music down to my speech therapy and we would just sing. I mean, 80s stuff, she's about my age, and we would sing 80s tunes, which that helped, with the speech actually, so we did that. I wanted to get back out and gigging. I knew I wasn't going to be able to actually work, but I wanted to do that. So my wife and son agreed to be my roadies and help me through all this. And because I mean they were going to be my hands, there's no doubt about that. All I was going to be basically was running my mouth and spinning tunes. So, you know, now we talked about falls. I bet Jason I wasn't going to fall. He bet I was, and I was good. And I went a couple of months without falling. And then in the bedroom one day, I was walking, and I lost my balance. So you learn how to fall in rehab as well too. You learn how to stick your butt out and adjust your weight so that you go in your butt, because that's the safest place to fall. And I did that as instructed. I was so angry with myself that I actually fell, and I tried to talk my wife into not counting that one, but you don't get any freebies when it comes to that. But I fell safely, so I was okay. And I got up on my own because they teach you how to get up as well too. Using your strong arm and your strong leg and things like so. They really help you with just about everything there. Now, my second fall, I was out in the patio and I was walking to do something, and my leg didn't lift up all the way, and I tripped on the cord, and my head hit one of the beams holding the screened-in porch area. And I'm gonna show you a picture now. As you can see, it isn't as bad as it seemed at the time, but it got me pretty good. And it actually wasn't as bad as it looked, but it hurt. There's no doubt about that. It hurt. And of course, being on your forehead like that, it bled. It scared me. Again, your emotions are all distraught when you have a stroke. So emotionally, it really kind of affected me. I didn't know how bad it was until my wife cleaned me up and to see that it was just a cut, didn't require stitches or anything. I didn't know that at the time, so I'm kind of freaking out. Plus the fact that I hit my head. Hitting your head is very dangerous after a stroke. I mean, you can cause another clot in a heartbeat, and you don't want to do that. Also, coming home, I was on blood thinners, which is another reason why I bled a lot, because you kind of lose your quick coagulation process because you're on blood thinners, aspirin plus an extra blood thinner. So now the third one is kind of funny. The third one, I'm in the living room, and we had a spare recliner that we were actually going to sell. And I mean, it was up on Craigslist, just taking up room that I needed for exercise and things like that. So it was kind of along the walkway. And I'm walking, and one of my little kitty cats, and I say kitty cats, he was probably 6 months old at the time, kind of ran in front of me and tripped me up. Well, fortunately, I kind of went against the wall and then went down into the chair. So did I fall to the ground? No. But I guess it's a fall because if the wall wasn't there, if the chair wasn't there, I definitely would have hit, and I would have probably hit hard. So that's what it was like for basically the first, go around, let's say up to about 6 months at home. That's what I went through. So I hope that, that helps you guys. I hope that you know never to give up, because you're going to continue to get better if you work at it. If you're not working at it, don't expect a 3-6 year. Don't expect that plan to work, because it won't. You have to work at it, and you can never give up. So until the next episode, this is Penguin. Peace out.